What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Titans Time. We're back with our first video after the NFL draft is over. We've had a few videos kind of discussing things, how we would like to see things go, and now we've seen how the full draft has played out. And there are definitely some things to be excited about. Also, a couple of things maybe to be a little disappointed about, but we really don't know anything yet.
Exactly, and I just want to throw this out there right at the start of the video. Look, it's easy for all of us fans to sit at home and be, couch or chair GMs and be like, the Titans need to take this guy right here, this guy, and then if they don't take them, it's just a wave of emotions. You're either pissed off, you're happy about the pick. Oh, why are they taking this guy? He hasn't done shit. This is the stupidest pick ever. Just a whole, basically covering every aspect of it that you can. And we're guilty of it. I'm not
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that we're not guilty of it. We're guilty of it too. We were like, man, we really wanted, for example, Elijah Moore. We really wanted him. Titans didn't take him. There were some other receivers that we would have liked to have seen them go after, but they didn't take them. And really what it comes down to is, here's the thing. They're the ones in the war rooms, in the draft rooms. They're the ones who have gotten with all of their scouts, gotten with all of their medical team, and been like, okay, what can you tell us about this guy? And, they pretty much know what, all teams pretty much know probably who other teams are looking at possibly getting. So, just they're finding guys that they like that are going to fit the system that they want to run. And, I mean, who's going to know the system better than the GM and the coaches?
Right, absolutely.
So, just let's not freak out about this. Even though it may not be the picks that we wanted to see them make, they have something in mind. And these guys haven't even had a chance to, hit the practice field yet. But, so we can't really judge them yet on how they're going to do in the NFL, but pretty much every one of them's like, okay, I can't wait to get to Nashville. Get me the playbook. I want
Right.
it.
That is one thing that I'm super excited to see from these guys is their hunger already to get out there, learn the playbook, and already start making a difference. But I think you made some really good points. I mean, all of the guys in the war room for the Titans and for any other NFL team have connections that we as fans we can't even fathom what they actually know as far as what other teams are thinking, where guys could potentially be going, and what moves they need to make to get who they want.
Exactly.
I mean, there could be a guy that fans and analysts are looking at being a 6th round projection, and what we don't know is the majority of NFL teams are looking at this guy early 5th round.
Right.
And so when someone moves up and takes them, you're like, that seems a little bit early.
Mm-hmm.
That's just an example, but you really have no idea what's going on. And what we know about these prospects, especially once you get into the later rounds, is it doesn't even compare to what these scouts know and what the GMs know. They have the knowledge that we don't in most cases with this draft stuff.
Right.
I mean, but the speculation is fun.
And here's the thing. It's also hitting on the other side. It's easy to get hyped up about these guys
Exactly.
because you go pull up their highlights. There's a reason they are called highlights.
Exactly.
I mean, you're going to see the best of them. So, whereas these coaches have access to all of their film.
Exactly.
They're watching it, seeing things that they like. So, again, I want to find out from you right quick. And we're going to go through here and obviously tell who all they got. So just in case you were hiding under a rock or something and missed the draft and haven't been keeping up with any coverage of it, with the 22nd pick, the Titans drafted Caleb Farley, cornerback from Virginia Tech. 2nd round pick, they went with Dylan. Gonna have to help me out with the last name.
Raduns.
Offensive tackle from North Dakota State. 3rd round, they went with Monty Rice, inside linebacker from Georgia. Also in the 3rd round, Elijah Molden, defensive back from Washington. Traded up in the 4th round to grab Fitzpatrick, tongue-tied, wide receiver from Louisville. Then 4th round also, Rashad Weaver, outside linebacker from Pittsburgh. 6th round, Racy McMath, wide receiver from LSU. And with their last pick in the 6th round, Brady Breeze, safety from Oregon. Now, just from hearing that, what is the draft grade that you would give to the Titans?
Okay, so let me just first of all say that I think it would be extremely hard for a team to come out of a draft and get like an A or A+ grade. I think if you I think if you are above a C+, you have had, if you are anything B- or better, I think you've had a good draft. I just don't think that you can put an A or an A+ on a team with us knowing as little as we do. I would give them a B- probably for this draft. And I mean, but there's some picks that I really like. There's some picks that I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking. But I mean, overall, I think they're going to hit on more picks here than what they missed on.
I agree. I will say my draft grade is going to be a little bit higher than yours. I've been kind of bouncing back and forth. I believe I'm going to give them a B+ though. I kind of wanted to jump it up to A- just because of strictly potential that's here. But I'm going to go with B+. And all honesty, as long as, Caleb Farley, just based on him alone, as long as he is completely healthy and can be out there, that possibly bumps it up to a solid A for me. Just my thoughts.
Well, I'm making my grade off of the assumption that he's going to be healthy and able to be out there. I don't think he misses any games from this, and I don't know that I don't know that anyone feels that way, but I think there probably are some people that are afraid of the possibility.
Oh, there's a lot of people that are afraid of, his back injury, how that's going to affect things. Because here's the way they look at it. Last year, we have a bust of a first-round pick. And then this year, come into the first round, and the Titans take a guy who is coming off of a back surgery. And, they're doing basically a high-risk, high-reward. But it's worth it with this guy.
I think so, absolutely.
I don't think this injury, I think he's going to come back. They're going to have him recovering, doing everything he needs to. And I think he's going to come back tip-top shape and is going to be just a lockdown corner for the Titans. The lockdown corner that we need on the outside. And I'm really excited about him.
I think another thing that kind of puts a bad taste in people's mouth, and you've made this point before, I think, is Adoree Jackson and kind of the way that his injuries kept stringing along throughout the season. And so, but another cornerback that has injury problems, and you never know kind of when something could pop up with a back injury or something like that.
But again, a point that me and you have both made, if he's healthy, I mean, he's a big physical guy, and maybe that injury is what allowed him to fall to us. But if it hadn't have been for that injury,
he'd be a top 10 pick.
He'd be a top 10 pick and probably the first corner off the board. You can make the argument that he was the best corner in the draft,
especially after seeing Surtain fall behind J.C. Horn.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that without the injury, Caleb Farley's far better than J.C. Horn.
And the biggest difference between Farley and Adoree, to me, he was never really that physical. Like, right. Yes, he had the speed and everything, but we've seen this last year. His tackling was horrendous. But Caleb Farley, he may get flagged some when he's out there, but that receiver's going to know that he's there.
I think that's going to be the case with all of the Titans' defensive backs this next season. I think that they're really trying to go that route. on purpose because
they have shown so far with who they have picked up in the offseason and who they have drafted that they want guys that are going to be physical, put their hands on receivers and tight ends, and let them know we're here and it's going to be a dogfight all game long.
Absolutely. So now let's kind of look at this and just break this down a little bit. And the first thing, and I want to go first on this one just because I kind of feel like you might steal mine if I don't. What pick makes you most excited on this list? And obviously, first and foremost, I'm going to go with Caleb Farley just because this was a pick that I was excited about. I just knew that he was going to fall to this position and that they were going to have a chance to go after him. Whether or not they went after him, I had no idea. But, you know, obviously I made a video about him before the draft, and he was just a guy that I was looking at the whole time because I kept seeing little tidbits leading up to the draft about his injury, and then, you know, things just kind of began to snowball, and it was like, okay, this guy might actually have a chance to fall down into the later half of the first round. And I was like, he is good. He has so much potential. He has elite cornerback potential, and that's why I felt like it was a no-brainer there for them.
Yeah, man, that's tough because, you know, I actually didn't think that Farley was going to fall to us.
Right.
I mean, you know, you had honestly done a lot more research on him than I have to see if he was possibly going to fall to us. I didn't think he was going to, and a lot of that was based on, unfortunately, mock drafts because mock drafts, man, he was flying off the board. He was either the first or second corner taken.
Right.
So, you know, I was thinking there's no way he's going to fall to us. So that could easily be, you know, my favorite pick of the draft. And I think that it's going to be a lot of people's favorite pick. Honestly, though, just from looking at this a different way, I'm going to go with our second round pick, the offensive tackle, Dylan Raduns.
I honestly don't know how to say his last name. I'm not sure that I am going to know until I hear it on the TV on Sunday.
So sorry for butchering that, but I'm going to go with that as my favorite pick because basically by Farley being able to fall to us in the first round, it kept us from probably seeing the Titans take a tackle in the first round. And, you know, not saying that Tevin Jenkins wouldn't have been a good fit for us because he would have. But that's not. Titans fans didn't want to see an offensive tackle taken in the first round.
And after looking at these guys, I think I like this guy better than Tevin Jenkins.
I've seen, you know, of course, some of his highlights. There's one play that I just seen today where he's one-on-one with a guy, blocking him. Well, someone else is coming around the edge on him too. So not only is he hitting this guy, he reaches his arm out and pops the other guy, and it shifts his weight just long enough for the quarterback to move up in the pocket and deliver the ball. And again, I think this is a guy who could potentially come in, even though he's a second-round pick. We brought in Lamb, you know, to be, you know, either a depth piece or possibly a starter.
I think the offensive line's definitely going to be beefed up. I mean,
but I think he's going to be the starter, and I'm fine with that.
Right. I mean, I definitely think there's going to be so much more depth this season. Honestly, I think that the starting five is going to be better. And, you know, even if guys start to go down, like you mentioned, there's Lamb. There's still Aaron Brewer, which I'm really excited about his future in the NFL. And this guy, the thing that I like about him the most is he is already, even before the draft, started preparation. You know, he played left tackle in college. He's already started preparation for that shift over to the right side. And, you know, his thing is versatility. He wanted to be as versatile as possible. And so he's already started putting in some work on that right side.
And not to mention, after being drafted, you know, we found out he's for the boys. I mean, big Bussin' with the Boys fan, big Taylor Lewan fan. So, you know, I think this is going to be a great fit. Like you said, it beefs up our line, also helps out with depth. Again, I know, you know, it's a little crazy hearing me say this because I talked about how, I wanted to see him go either cornerback, receiver in the first 2 rounds, or receiver, cornerback. However it fell. But I like the way this works out, and being able to take him to add to our line, and he's excited to be able to come into the league, and he gets to block for the best running back in the league, Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So speaking of wide receivers, let's talk about that for a minute. They took 2, but didn't necessarily go quite as early as we thought they might for one.
I'm just gonna say, I don't know if you were on Twitter that much. I thought there was about to be a meltdown on Twitter because it took the Titans until the 4th round to pick a receiver.
Straight up.
And, I mean, there were a lot of people on there just not happy. They thought that we should have seen a receiver taken in one of the first 3 rounds. Even though that was our thoughts, we kept waiting around to see, okay, what do they have planned here?
Right.
Like, obviously they know something.
Well, and we were kind of throwing around a couple of things like, okay, what do you think this means? Do you think that this means well, possibly for Julio Jones?
Which could still be in play.
Do you think they have a guy picked out that, is their favorite and he's just still on the board? Or, one thing that I've kind of started to think, do you feel like the Titans' needs at wide receiver have kind of been blown out of proportion by the fan base, and that the staff doesn't necessarily see it in the same way?
I believe that could be the case, and the main point that they made about these receivers that they did draft is these receivers can block. That's the main thing. They were looking for receivers willing to get their hands dirty and block. Not be just guys to go out there and run routes. And, I mean, these are big, physical receivers that have some speed to them as well.
Des Fitzpatrick, I did not know a lot about him coming into the draft. But he has that ability to make some deep plays, really stretch the field. Now, he's not the fastest, but he can still stretch the field.
One of his better highlights is, I believe it was him, going against Asante Samuel Jr., who
really
was
good cornerback.
An early 2nd round pick, I believe. And he makes the catch, ball thrown right over him, makes the catch in stride, sheds the tackle, runs it in.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this guy's got some talent, and, I really feel like it's a high-risk, high-reward kind of pick right here. And even if he doesn't completely pan out, you've got a guy that you can still throw in there on plays where you're running the ball with Derrick Henry, and like you said, he's not afraid to get down the field and throw some blocks.
Right, and, there's no guarantee that some of these guys, there's no guarantee they're going to make the team.
Oh, I definitely think that the last 2 guys, I'm not even going to discuss them a lot because I don't think either one of them will be on the roster.
Well, we'll see, because I think Dez actually has some pretty decent speed. I think he was, like, his 40 was maybe in the a little bit higher, like 4.3 range.
Right.
And he's like 6'2", I believe, if I'm not getting that confused.
Well, that's what I was saying. He's not the fastest. He doesn't have that 4.2 speed. It's even high 4.3s, but he's not the slowest either. I mean, he's got some speed to him.
But you talking about Racing McMath. Both of these guys, I feel like, are guys who need just a little bit more development, especially McMath, because let's face it, he was at LSU, and their receiver room was pretty stacked.
Yeah.
I mean, so he didn't get many opportunities to get out there. He's a low 4.3 guy on his 40. And, these are guys that you can put out there on special teams as, this could be where they make their mark for right now until they develop better receiver skills. And just have them as your gunner going down there to make the tackle on punts or on kickoff. So, and again, he's a bigger guy. So I think one of the biggest knocks on him is, even though he is, fast down the field, getting off the line of scrimmage is kind of the main knock on him. But again, he doesn't have that much experience. Like, his production's low, but he was behind, like 3 other good receivers at LSU.
Right. Well, I'm still going to kind of stick by my thought process. I don't think either one of the 6th round picks are going to be on the roster come time for the season.
Can we agree that they have the best names?
Yeah, they do have the best names out of the whole draft class.
Racy McMath and Brady Breeze.
Right, I agree with that 100%. Other than maybe Caleb Farley, just because it might be a Hall of Fame name in the end. But
now, how about the stat we've seen, just since you brought Farley back up? If this stat is true, they were listing off the fastest players by miles per hour.
Right.
The top 5. Number 2 was Tyreek Hill at like 23 point something. And then number 1 was Caleb Farley at over 24 miles per hour.
Yeah, I mean,
so
if that is true, I think the Titans have possibly found the answer to stopping the Chiefs.
Oh, for sure.
Because if you can put one guy on Tyreek Hill and not have to shade him at all.
Exactly. But, just from that fact alone, if that's true, he's literally the guy that you can say, you're on him all game long, and you don't have to worry about him.
And then you just have to hope that, he doesn't, like, get his ankles broken or something. And then, tear an ACL, something crazy. Because Tyreek Hill's one of those guys that, even though he might have a higher top speed, I don't think he can quite keep up with some of the quick cuts and stuff.
Maybe not. Let's talk about Monty Rice. We were wondering why the Titans went with an inside linebacker. Now, seeing some of his highlights too, especially some against the Tennessee Volunteers, and he was wreaking havoc like most people do. But, we were kind of wondering what leads them to do this, and in my mind, what that means is the Titans are not going to pick up the 5th-year option on Rashaan Evans. That's what I believe that it means.
Yeah, I could see that.
I believe that they are going to, they brought Jaylen Brown back for this year, but I believe that the inside linebacker core is going to end up being David Long Jr. and Monty Rice. I think that's where we're heading with this.
Okay, I could see that. I don't know how quickly that transition is going to happen because I think Jaylen Brown might hang around a little bit longer.
We'll have to see because he only signed a 1-year deal.
Right. But I'd like to see him hang around a little bit longer because what I think he's trying to do is hold on for another season and try to get paid big time in free agency next year.
Could be.
But hopefully that's not the case, and maybe he'll stick around with the Titans a little bit longer. Monty Rice, really the only thing that I have on him is he's been a Titan for life, and that's about it. I'm not super pleased with the pick. I don't hate it either, though. I mean, he's athletic. He's really quick for that position. He's probably going to be pretty versatile, and so, there's a lot of opportunity for him there, but, kind of sour on the Georgia guys still.
Well, as long as he is not going and partying with, I'm not even going to waste my breath on saying his name, the Georgia player we picked last year.
Right.
Then, we're good.
Yeah.
As long as he's not going and doing that. Now, Elijah Molden. I like this pick.
I do too, because
he's another physical guy,
right, that
we can put, in our defensive back group, whether it be probably in the slot.
Well, this guy is I've been talking about versatility between the offensive tackle Monty Rice. This guy fits right into that whole versatility group there. I mean, he can play safety, he can play cornerback, he can play in the slot. I think that's where you'll see him mostly is in the slot, but he can do pretty much anything in the secondary.
Oh, yeah. And, this just kind of means that in future years, our defensive back group can be in really good hands because we can have Caleb Farley, Christian Fulton, and Elijah Molden.
Right, I agree.
So I'm excited to see how the Titans work him in and what exactly his role is going to be this year.
I mean, if you really break this down and look at it, you're looking at Caleb Farley, Janoris Jenkins, Christian Fulton.
Gets to play in the slot where he probably prefers to play.
And then you have Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard. And then you throw in Elijah Molden as kind of a guy that can move around and do everything.
Right.
And I think you've got a pretty solid group that you're looking at right there.
It can be a good depth piece,
and it's
for sure.
Definitely a new look from what we saw last year. So I'm excited to see it.
I mean, it's kind of funny. You know, I kept seeing people throw this around too. Our defense was terrible last year. We kept talking about how terrible it was. Kept talking about it. And then the Titans come out and don't draft a receiver until the 4th round. And people want to be upset because we didn't take one in the first 3 rounds when they're addressing
needs on the defense.
Needs on the defensive side. So
I'm happy with it. And I think that their defense is going to look really, really good this next year. I mean, you've also got big additions to free agency. Danico Autry, Bud Dupree. And then the one guy that we haven't talked about on here, Rashad Weaver, kind of throw him into that mix along with Harold Landry. And you're possibly looking at a team that goes from one of the worst defenses in the league to maybe middle of the pack, at least.
If not a little bit better.
If not a little bit better. Because, I mean, Rashad Weaver, I think he's got a lot of power. I think he's going to be a guy that, honestly, might get an opportunity to make some plays this next year.
Oh, I believe he's going to. You know, he's... One thing we kept talking about, you know, last year too, and even the year before, the depth just wasn't there for our pass rush, like especially on the edge, because, you know, if we had guys get hurt, like Clowney got hurt last year, we had to start digging down deep into our lineup to bring guys in and Rashad Weaver, he's another good depth piece. That if he gets a chance, I think he's going to make a big splash.
Right.
And make some big plays.
Yeah, I agree. So, overall, we've kind of, went through, discussed this. We've already given our draft grades. But how does this leave you feeling about what they might possibly be looking to do from now until the season with their roster?
I think that we haven't seen the last of moves being made. And the reason I say that is because John Robinson has even come out and said they're still working with guys to see about restructuring contracts. They have been in talks with other teams because I think he got asked about tight ends. And he said other teams have gotten in touch with them. And, we may possibly see a trade for a tight end. A bigger name tight end.
Might see a trade for a tight end. Might see a trade for a wide receiver.
Exactly. And, the Titans, they hold their cards close.
We might see Rashaan Evans gone sooner rather than later.
Could see him packaged in a deal for a tight end.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we never know. But I don't think that the Titans are done making moves.
I don't either.
I think they're going to end up getting some guys restructured on their contracts.
Right.
And I think we're probably going to see one big trade happen. Possibly 2, but I think for sure we're going to see one big trade happen, whether it be for a tight end or Julio. But I also believe that, the Titans pretty much know better than us. I think they're happy with their receiving core right now.
Right. Because
they know the style offense we run. I mean, I don't care who you have out there, as long as they can run, crisp routes. You hit the defense with a play action after Derrick Henry's got the ball 2 times in a row on 1st and 2nd down. As long as they can run a crisp route, they're getting open.
Well, and a good quarterback is going to make good wide receivers. I mean, he'll even make average wide receivers, Maybe he can make Josh Reynolds into a wide receiver too.
And we've talked about this before. I don't think Reynolds is bad.
I don't either.
I think it's just he was playing behind other good guys.
2 guys that, possibly could go somewhere else. They could both be wide receiver 1s.
Exactly. So if he gets this opportunity to be our wide receiver 2 and comes out he could flat out and knock it out of the park, and maybe we end up with 2,000-yard receivers this year. But
maybe a little much there.
Just throwing that out there, that's a possibility. We don't know. I don't expect it to happen. I mean, last year our offense was just clicking on all cylinders for the most part. Ended up with a 2,000-yard rusher, almost 2,000-yard receivers. Tannehill, was obviously lighting it up in the pass game. So our offense is probably going to take a little bit of a step back. But with our defense taking the step forward that it looks like they're taking, I'm not worried about it because, as we've said before, we may not have to get into these shootouts this next year.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And, all I have to say is that I'm excited to see, what there still is left to come.
So you're optimistic, say, about this draft class and other possible moves that are going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I would say that I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic.
I'm optimistic about it. I think things are going to be fine. We have to trust, J-Rob and everyone else in the organization and the front offices that they know better about what's going on with the team than we do. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with some of these guys. Again, all of them are just so eager. They're ready to get the playbook, ready to dive into the playbook, learn it, and get to practices and mini camps. Well, maybe not mini camps, but
yeah.
But guys, go down below and let us know what you think of this draft class. Let us know the grade that you give it, and who you're most excited to see and who your favorite pick was.
And who knows? In the end, we could end up, going through this season, Titans missing the playoffs, and just go through the whole process again. Another draft, another offseason, and it's not going to be the end of the world. There's still time with some of these young guys and contracts that they have in place for them to make moves towards a championship. It doesn't have to happen this next season.
It doesn't have to, but I will say I do disagree with you some, because we're kind of in this prime window where we have some guys that are in their prime right now. And you can't keep pushing it off to next year, because eventually you're going to run into that situation where you keep pushing it off to next year until you're rebuilding again.
Well, I would rather put my faith in GM and coach rather than a group of players. I would rather be looking at it as, okay, we have J-Rob and Mike Vrabel. They're going to do the right things to keep us on a successful track for a long term, rather than just while we have guys like Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill. I think we got to start to realize that there's life after these guys, and I think that they're already on the right track, making the right moves right now for when that happens.
Yeah, but a beast like Derrick Henry in the backfield really changes how defenses are able to come at you.
But a guy like this can't last forever.
I don't know.
You can't put the bobbleheads up there and expect me to not play with them.
I don't know. He keeps getting stronger and stronger as the years go on. So he might.
He might, but we haven't seen it happen yet. All right, so guys, make sure that you're keeping up with us on social media. The ones that we're most active on Twitter, it's Titans_time. On Facebook, it's Titans Time. And then we're also on Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. Also, make sure that you check out our website, titanstimepodcast.com.
That's your word of the day also.
What? Also?
Also. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure to go down, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications. We got a goal that we're trying to reach, and we would really appreciate if you could help us get to that goal. We're trying to get anywhere from 800 to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Right now, we're sitting at just over 300. We need some help, guys. And again, we really appreciate it. Go down, hit the like button. Make sure you share the video. Family, friends, all of the Titans fans, or just football fans in general. We love talking football, and we'll talk it with any fan base. And like I said earlier, go down, leave us a comment. Let us know what grade you give this draft and the players that you're most excited to see on the Titans this year.
This has been Titans Time, and as always, tighten up.